Hello and welcome back to our next segment of Lightbulb Moments. Today's topic is something that parents talking about all the time, and that is the frustration that comes up almost daily with doing homework with your young children. Today's segment is going to be about making homework time easy, and I'm going to be giving you just 3 tips to try at home, which I'm telling you will make homework a lot smoother. Granted, there's no magic bullet here. This won't take away all the frustrations, but at least it will make it smoother, easier, and less frustrating. My goal is to make homework time simple. It's gotten very complicated. So for today, let's simplify it. Here are, like I said, 3 tips to make homework time easy. As mentioned, this is going to be with your young children, the children who need more supervision when doing homework, whether this be actually sitting with them or the ones that you need to check in with periodically. Working with your teens, homework will be slightly different. At that point, we're hoping they're more responsible, and all you need to do is really check in with them. So here we go. Tip number 1 is a consistency in homework time and place. What I mean by that is set aside which time of day is going to be best for your child to do homework. Now this is going to require knowing your child well. Know is the time of day that he or she is going to be best at concentrating at homework going to be right after school, before he or she gets distracted by playtime or friends or siblings or TV? Or is it going to be better if they have a little bit of a break and then they do their homework? Either way, pick which time you think is going to be most helpful for them to concentrate on their homework. Perhaps if your child is more self-aware or is an older child, have a discussion with them and pick together which time would be best for them to focus on their homework. So first of all, like I said, this is the first tip, and that's consistency in time and also consistency in place. Environmental factors is going to have quite an effect on how your child is going to focus and concentrate on their homework. So pick a place that probably is not going to be within the midst of a lot of other things going on. But again, if your child is going to need to check in with you, this requires knowing your child. So although I wouldn't say to pick the dining room table or kitchen table, since it's a high distraction area to do homework, if it tends to be actually a more quiet time, other children are not around, and your child needs you to check in while you're preparing dinner, then perhaps this is a good place. Think about it together, you and your child, know your child, and think about what's going to be the best place for him or her to do her homework. Again, a consistency. This place should always be set up and ready at that time when the child is going to be sitting down to do their homework. So what that means is a clear space, some extra pieces of paper if necessary, perhaps computer if that's something that's needed for homework, pens and paper, etc. So again, number 1, consistency with time and place. Number 2 is concrete. You must define concretely what the behavior of doing homework is. Does that mean getting every single example right? Does that mean doing their best? Does that mean doing most of it? Define these by actual behaviors. For example, if you tell your child, the way that I'm going to know that you are doing your homework and is that if you're trying your best. The way I'm going to know that you're trying your best is if you're looking at your piece of paper for a certain amount of time, if you're writing, if you're asking questions, etc. Also keep in mind, again, with the concrete behaviors, how your child is going to work best. Would your child work best if there's 10 minutes on, 5 minutes off, meaning 10 minutes of concentrating? Again, by defining what these behaviors are, looking at the paper, showing that the child is writing, asking questions, quiet time of thinking, etc. Again, is he or she going to work best if it's 10 minutes on of concentrating, 5-minute break of distraction? You can even prescribe the behavior of distraction, meaning tell the child, okay, you've been working for 10 minutes now, spend 5 minutes looking around, chatting with me, etc. But again, this requires knowing your child. 10 minutes on, 5 minutes off, will that be too distracting for them, make it difficult to get back in? Is it better for them to have 15 minutes straight on and then to have a break? So again, number 1 is consistency with time and place. And number 2 is define concretely what the behavior of doing homework is. Additionally, if you're going to be giving your child some kind of reward for doing their homework, and that's going to be dependent on each parent and what they decide to do, think about giving a reward that is following by these described, defined behaviors of doing one's homework. So again, number 1 is the time and place consistency. 2 is being concrete about what the behavior of doing one's homework is. And lastly, which I think is very, very important, is how we're developing the time for which a child to do homework. What I mean by that is if you really want your child to make sure they're sitting down and that they're doing their best, then there needs to be set into place a minimum amount of time that your child should be doing their homework. Again, this is going to be dependent on the child and the amount of homework that they have, whether it be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, a half hour, etc. You have a minimum amount of time. But here's another key. I would recommend also setting into place a maximum amount of time. If you don't want your children to be too overwhelmed by the homework, too overwhelmed by the stress that comes with it, another tip is to say, okay, it's important that you sit down and that you concentrate on your homework, but also there are other things that we need to do, whether that be family time, whether that be relaxing time, whether that be other extracurricular activities. And so put into place a maximum amount of time for doing homework. Keep in mind what would be appropriate for your child's age, ability, and what is expected from them within the school setting, and also if there are going to be any exceptions for times when there are big projects or big tests. But for a lot of children who I've seen these days, they really have such a high stress level about getting done all of their homework and all of their projects. And so if they know that you get that it's a high level of stress and that it's important that there's also a cap on the maximum time, would be really valuable for your child and give them a little bit more of a calmness even going into the homework. And as a parent, knowing that there's going to be a maximum of time that you're sitting inside for your child to do homework will also be really helpful. So again, 3 tips for homework made easy. Tip number 1, consistency of time of place. Tip number 2, make the behavior defined in a concrete way of what is doing homework. And tip number 3, keep in mind a minimum amount of time and a maximum amount of time. This is Lightbulb Moments. I'm Shalom Cheryl Mayerfeld. As always, I look forward to everybody's questions, comments, feedback, and please send me ideas of things that you would like to hear about. I would really like to make this more collaborative and more interactive. Thank you for tuning in.